Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Marketing Funnels, Landing Pages, and Your Travel Agency's Growth. My name is Cara Kurtz, and I'm the Coordinator of Business Development here at ASTA, and I will also be the organizer for today's presentation. We are very happy to welcome today's presenter, Mr. Richard Earls. Richard Earls is a 30-year veteran of the travel industry and the publisher of Travel Researchers Online, Voyager websites, Travel Hoppers, and his newest venture, Trav Market. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few important features on your screen that will allow you to interact with us via the web today. We will be answering all of your questions at the end of this presentation. To ask a question, you will be using your GoToWebinar pane. Near the bottom of this pane, there is an area that says Questions. If you click the arrow next to where it says Questions, this will open up a separate window pane that you will be using to communicate with me today. If you're having any trouble hearing this presentation, please make sure that your speakers are turned all the way up, and if you've called in, try hanging up and dialing back in again. You can send me any technical issues via this questions pane, and I will try to answer them via the same pane to the best of my ability. Please note that all audience members are muted. We certainly want to hear from all of you, but with so many people on today's call, background noise would prove to be prohibitive, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear Richard's entire presentation. Remember, one of today's lucky webinar attendees will win a $100 Visa gift card, courtesy of ASTA. In order to win, you must be on this presentation from beginning to end, and we will be announcing the winner live after our Q&A session. Finally, remember that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing for all ASTA members on asta.org by the end of the week. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Richard.
Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for attending. This is going to be, I hope, very interesting for you, because when you hear something like marketing funnels, it sounds like jargon, and I understand that, and it sounds like all the lingo associated with it, like landing pages, and all that sounds very technical. And what I wanted to start off with is to let you know that it's not that. These are things that you're really very familiar with. The platforms have changed a little bit, so that you may not recognize them when I talk about marketing funnels or landing pages or something like that, but that's all the technology jargon. The actual process you're very familiar with. And so the first thing I want to do is cover an offline example, something that you are familiar with, something you've probably done as a travel consultant, and something that you'll recognize as, okay, I get it now. But what we're going to be talking about is all about lead generation and relationship building, and the way that technology can help you do that more efficiently and can help you amplify all of your efforts. So lead generation is all about getting new clients, and relationship building is about retaining your clients. And those are the two main functions of marketing. So marketing is all about lead generation and relationship building. So let's look at that offline example real quick and see if we can understand exactly what a marketing funnel is. And I think what you're going to learn is that you've been involved with marketing funnels your entire business career. So let's think back to some point of when you've gone to a Chamber of Commerce meeting or some similar networking event, and you go with your friend Alice, and you walk in the room. You got your suit on, or your best clothing on. You're dressed to impress. You go into the room. You got your business cards in your pocket, and Alice introduces you to Bob. And you sit there, and a little small talk passes between you, and then that question comes up that always comes up. You ask Bob what he does for a living, and Bob tells you that he owns a yoga studio. And then it's your turn to tell Bob what you do, and you say, well, I'm a travel advisor. Now, you could have said travel agent, but you intentionally say travel advisor, and there's a good reason for that. Had you said travel agent, Bob would have immediately pigeonholed you. He would have assumed he knew what you did. But you want a little more engagement than that. So when Bob hears travel advisor, he says to you, is that like a travel agent? And you said, well, it's sort of like a travel agent. That's a little bit of an older term for it. But what I do is more like a travel coach. I really help people make smart buying decisions. I don't sell travel. I help them buy travel. I help them make good, intelligent buying decisions. And so you talk a little bit more about one thing or another, and Bob finally says to you, you know what? I've always wanted to do a yoga seminar in Costa Rica. But the logistics, I just don't know how you would put all of that together. And you tell Bob that you've got really great connections in Costa Rica, that you have great suppliers in Costa Rica, and you'd be happy to look at that for him. And Bob says, okay, yeah, sure, I'd love for you to do that. And you shake Bob's hand, and then maybe you meet several other people that night. So you talk to a number of people about one thing or another, but Bob is a good lead for you. And you get home, and you sit down, and you look at your suppliers for Costa Rica, and you put together a little analysis of what it would take and what kind of money Bob might be able to make from the program and how the group would function and how you might market it, help Bob market it. And you email Bob and you say, Bob, here's what I found and here's what I put together. I think this idea has some vitality to it. I think we could do something with this. And so Bob says, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that was a possibility. I've always wanted to do this. Let's explore it a little further. And so Bob now has really taken an interest in you, in your travel practice, because you've taken an interest in him. And you're addressing needs that he has. And what we're looking at right here is a marketing funnel. This is the Chamber of Commerce lead generation funnel. Bob didn't even know you existed until you attended and were introduced to him by Alice. And then he took interest in you because you used a term like travel advisor. And that piqued his curiosity. It made him engage with you, made him ask you a question or two. And then you told him you could give him a hand doing something he always wanted to do. So he begins to consider that as a possibility. And then finally he says, yeah, let's do that. And that shows his intent. And all the way through that process, you used what's known as persuasion architecture. And persuasion architecture just means that you said things that helped him move through the funnel. Because you're an experienced marketer, because you're an experienced travel advisor, you said things that encouraged him to continue moving forward. You engaged his interest. You showed interest in him. You were authentic. You piqued his curiosity. And that's all persuasion architecture. That helps someone continue to move through the funnel. So what you're seeing here is that marketing funnels are not new. Now, the platforms may have changed, but you're still going to Chamber of Commerce meetings and utilizing marketing funnels. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a way that we can automate that process in the computer world, in the world of online marketing. And the great thing about automation online is that it enables you to amplify all of your efforts. You can do so much more quickly. And so let's take a look at how that might happen. Now, I'm going to stop just for a minute to look at this, because persuasion architecture is what keeps Bob moving through the funnel. But at some point or another, he may have decided he was going to have a look at your website. And if your website looks like this, then you have violated a fundamental principle of persuasion architecture. There's nothing interesting about this website. And think for a moment about the fact that you're getting leads right now coming to your website from AdSense or from some other way that you've attracted leads. If you have a site that looks like it's 15 years old, that has a search engine on it, that allows them to get way too much information about suppliers, if the site is littered with the logos of suppliers, you don't look like somebody who's really involved in helping people make intelligent buying decisions. You look like somebody who's trying to sell something. And so I just want you to take some time to consider the fact that your website needs to be about you. Your website doesn't need to be a marketing trampoline. It needs to be a marketing funnel. And so you want to be the center of your website. You want your website to be about you and the value that you add to the entire travel equation. You want to express the benefits of working with you, not the benefits of buying a cruise, but the benefits of working with you as a travel advisor. You want to be the center of that. You want benefits to be at the center of all of your marketing efforts, because that's what keeps, when showing interest in your client, is what keeps them moving through that cycle. But you know the way we all react when somebody tries to sell us something. We love to buy things. We don't like to be sold things. And so all I'm suggesting to you is that your website needs to represent you well. Here's the classic marketing funnel. And basically, this is something that, again, maybe you've not dissected this way, but you pretty much have been participating in this your entire business career. People out there don't even know you exist until they become aware of you at the very top of the funnel. And then through intelligent marketing, you generate interest, and they begin to consider you to see if you can meet their needs and if you can help them in their travels. They develop an intent, they evaluate you, and finally they purchase from you. So that's the marketing funnel that we're going to look at. And now we're going to see how we might be able to automate it a bit. Now, automation of a marketing funnel follows a history that we're familiar with. Direct mail became email. Radios become podcasting. Newspapers or blogs. Televisions become streaming media. And networking has become social media. Now, all the old ways of doing things are still there and still very valid. But there's the new technologies that we can also, it's a new avenue. And one of the things that those new avenues do is allow us a much larger reach. It allows us to reach out to more people. It's amplified our reach, and that's a good thing. But if we're not doing it correctly, it also amplifies any mistakes we're making. So we want to make sure that we're not doing this by trial and error. We want to make sure that all the efforts we undertake have a plan, that we're doing it from a well-structured plan with forethought and intention and goals. So let's look at a marketing funnel that is very common and one that you've probably seen something like in the past. The first thing it involves is what they call a lead magnet. Right? All the people out there who you'd like to become clients of yours, they may not even know you exist. So we've got to find a way of attracting them to us. And one of the methodologies that's used is called a lead magnet. And so you put together a little booklet, and we're going to call it Secrets of Choosing Your First River Cruise. Now, remember we talked about persuasion architecture. The reason we call it secrets is because we want to make sure that we're piquing their curiosity. People like secrets. People like inside knowledge. And the person who can give us inside knowledge tends to be an expert, tends to be somebody who can speak with authority. And so we've chosen that name for our lead magnet very, very intentionally. That's Persuasion Architecture. Well, now that we've created our lead magnet, we have to have a place to put it. And so we use a platform like Facebook, which is a great advertising platform. Now, one of the great things about advertising on Facebook is the way we can narrow down our choice of people who see our ad. It used to be if you advertised in the newspaper, everyone saw your ad, but only a small percentage of those people were actually potential clients for you. Some were not interested in river cruising. Some already had other things that were important to them that didn't involve river cruising or even travel. But a percentage of the people who would see your ad would be interested. If we look at social media platforms like Facebook, we have the capacity to narrow down the demographic who sees our ad. It makes it much more efficient. And so again, download our free guide, free is good, Persuasion Architecture, on the secrets to choosing your first river cruise. Now, once we have that advertising platform, we have to narrow down that demographic. And so we're going to create what's known as an avatar. And another word for avatar is ideal client. We want to know who is our ideal client. Because if we know who the ideal client is, then we can better target that ideal client. Now, one of the really nice things about these platforms is that in the process of identifying that ideal client, you can have more than one avatar. You can have more than one ideal client chosen, and you can test all of that. Now, as you hear me saying all this, you're thinking this is terribly complicated, and it really isn't. This is the same process you go through now. You just do it more or less instinctively and unconsciously. We're going to structure it. We're going to structure it a little bit differently here because the 1 or 2 hours involved in setting this up, it will now run automatically over hundreds of clients. The 1 or 2 hours that you spend setting up a really strong automated marketing funnel, you'll then allow to run automatically. And that's going to amplify all of your marketing efforts. It's going to run when you're at the beach or on a fam trip. It's going to run when you're dealing with your clientele. It's going to run when you're in bed at night. So it's a way of automating much of your marketing effort. So now we know who our demographic is. Now we know who we want to talk to. We've got to put it in front of them, and we create what's known as a landing page. And a landing page is just a place where you're going to make a little bit of a trade. You're going to give them the free report that you've promised if they'll give you their name and email address. Notice the Persuasion Architecture again. Get your free guide now. From travel expert Amy Brock. Amy just got a little bit of a promotion in the mind of her avatars. Once they pump in their name and email address, you thank them for it. And now we also give them our website address. And we tell them how to get their guide. It's in their email box already. Again, all this happens automatically. Something called an autoresponder, which is just an automatic email, shoots to their inbox and provides them with a link where they can download the free guide that you created and that they wanted. Well, congratulations, you've got a lead. You now have a lead in your hands. Now, when you were at the Chamber of Commerce meeting and you met Bob, you had lots of things going in your favor. You were introduced by Alice. You were able to stand there and talk to Bob. You warmed him up. And when you first met Bob, he might have been what you call a cold lead. But the fact you were able to stand there and talk to him for a while and learn a little bit more about him, and he could learn a little bit more about you, created something of a relationship. Right now, the person who just downloaded your link doesn't have much of a relationship with you. There's been pretty much of an even trade. So now the mission is, how do I warm up this cold lead? How do I begin to form a relationship? And so one of the things you do is you continue to add value. You said, if you have any questions about river cruising or you'd like to schedule a free consult, email me here. So now you've added just a touch more value. You gave him something that he didn't expect. The offer of a free consult. If he has any questions about river cruising, notice right here, you're not trying to sell him anything. You're demonstrating your expertise. You're offering value and not requesting anything in return right now. A couple of weeks later, or 3 days later, whatever time you determine as you build out your marketing funnel, another autoresponder goes out. And it says, hey, Jamie, I just finished writing a new article on European river cruising and romance. If you're interested, you can read it by clicking this link. Again, you're not trying to sell him anything, but you are demonstrating your expertise. You are demonstrating that you know what his interest is, what he's interested in, and you're providing him with, again, additional value. Now, this could begin taking any number of directions at this point. Dear Jamie, would you like to attend a party? Our rep for Uniworld River Cruises has a webinar we are hosting, and you're invited. Here's the date and time. If you can attend, click this link. If you can attend, we'll send you a link where you can watch the video replay. Again, all you're doing is providing value. Providing value in the same way that when you were standing there at the Chamber of Commerce meeting talking to Bob, you offered to help him out to learn more about something that he was interested in. Same thing is happening here. Now you have the live event, the webinar. Webinars are something we're all pretty familiar with. You're attending one right now, in fact. And if you can't attend, it's been recorded for you. You'll probably get an email from the system that has a little bit of marketing automation attached to it. If your client, your lead, attends the webinar, it sends a thank you note. But the logic knows whether or not your lead actually attended. So if she didn't attend, then you send a replay autoresponder. Click here to watch what you missed. A few days later, your company newsletter or your company magazine or some other type of offer goes out to your client or to your lead. And again, we're going to hope this is not what they see when they visit your website to look at it. So the question you've got to have right now is, well, okay, that's great. I mean, it seems a little complicated and there are a lot of steps involved. What if 100 Jamies respond? How am I going to find time to do all that? Well, understand that you don't have to. Once this is set up if 100 Jamies join on and download your free report, all of the rest happens automatically, with the exception of the webinar that you'll do. But if you remove that step, everything else worked automatically. You don't have to send out 100 autoresponders. It happens automatically once you set it up. And that's really the power of this type of lead generation. Now, the same techniques can be used with your existing clients to deliver your email newsletters, to stay top of mind with them by every now and then automatically touching base with them. You know, we hear from marketing coaches all the time the need to stay in touch with our clients, but we also know how difficult that can be in terms of the time commitment. But it's possible to utilize automation in such a way that you're reaching out, you're touching your clients, but you're not putting in the individual time to do that. Now, it's like everything else. When you went to that Chamber of Commerce meeting, there may have been 100 people there. And out of the 100 people, only Bob became your client that night. You had other conversations, but not everyone you speak to becomes a lead. And not everyone you speak to then becomes, at the other end of the funnel, a paying client. But some percentage of them will. All marketing is a numbers game. Out of 100 people you talk to, 1 or 2 may become your clients. And so we want to be intelligent about the way we affect our marketing. And we want to do it in a measurable way so that it's done by a plan. And we need to be as efficient as possible so that all of our time isn't spent marketing rather than actually dealing with clients. The key to building those relationships is to continue to add value and to build trust. And I so believe that this is the model that you're now using. If you're having success in your current travel practice, the reason is that you're moving out of the realm of transactional business and into the realm of relationships. People trust you with their travel plans. Think of the concerns that people have when they fork over $5,000 for their vacation. They have to trust you. They have to have confidence in you. You have to present yourself as an expert. They have to know that they're being taken care of, that their needs are being met, and that you're capable of doing what you're promising to do. And if every step of the way you're building on the trust equation, if every step of the way you are genuinely, authentically, and with grace exhibiting your proficiency and your expertise, then you're going to build up that value and you're going to build up that trust. And so that's the marketing funnel. That's the possibilities for automating it. And that's what my new company does. So I'd love to talk to you about those possibilities. So that's the 30,000-foot view. Kara, if you want to throw a question over the fence to me, I'll be happy to take it.
All right. So right now, it looks like the only question that we have is not for the greater good of the group. So I am going to go ahead and give everyone a few seconds to go ahead and type away, just in case there are any questions that we still have remaining unanswered from the presentation. But thank you so much, Richard, for such an amazing presentation. I can definitely speak on behalf of our advisors that this is definitely a topic that they were extremely interested in, and something that they can all take and grow from. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. You know, I think one of the questions that people have many times about this entire process is how much technology is actually involved. And it's actually not technology at all. There's technology underneath it, but it's like you don't have to know how a computer works in order to type a word processing document. So it's really not technology as much as it is organization and structure and following a simple set of steps. So it's really not technology as much as it is simply being organized and structuring your efforts and having good coaching and technology somewhere in the background that can help you organize and effect your marketing efforts in this way.
All right, Richard, the questions are pouring in now. I knew that we were definitely had some advisors that were eagerly typing away. So it looks like our first question is going to be, is this system your software?
No, it's not, and you'll probably be glad to hear that. We are utilizing a company called GetResponse, and we are taking their technology and we are wrapping our training and content around it. So for example, and you can see this if you go to the Trav Market site, we have dozens of lead generators and lead magnets available for you. We have tons of content for your websites and for your social media. So if you're familiar at all with Voyager websites, which is one of my older companies, and the kinds of technologies and content that we develop for that, then you'll get some sense for the content that we've developed for Trav Market. So we develop the content for you. We show you how to use it. We assist you in using it. In fact, what we do is we build the first funnels for you. And then we show you how to continue to utilize it. And the beta test went very well, and the newest signups now we launched a week ago, and the results have been excellent. So we're very excited about the possibilities here.
Richard, is there a minimum number of clients that you need for a base?
No, not at all. In fact, that's really been interesting and somewhat surprising to me. We have one agent who's come to us early on, and she had a database of 11 people, and I was somewhat surprised. She was a new agent. She had 11 leads or 11 clients who had actually worked with her. She needed more clients, and so she was really into the lead generation piece of it. Another agent had 8,000 names in her database. And, that she was interested not so much in lead generation as she was in being able to maintain those relationships. She wanted to be able to get newsletters out to people. She wanted to be able to stay in touch with everyone, touch base with them, keep them interested in her agency, stay top of mind. But she was getting lots and lots of business already from referrals. She just wanted to do a good job of maintaining the relationships that she had already established. So no, it's all over the board. It's people who are new to the business with very few clients who need new leads, and it's people who have established programs that need an ability to maintain the relationships that they built.
All right, thank you. And I know that you did briefly touch on this, but are there any specific tools that you recommend to keep track of leads?
The system that we have has a lightweight CRM, customer relationship manager, built in that allows you to tag each lead as interested in one area of travel or another, one area of a niche market. This person's interested in river cruising, this person's interested in safaris, so that you can appropriately market to each of them. You don't want to be sending your safari people constant barrages of information on cruising. And so it's nice to be able to differentiate between your clients based on their interests. You want to make sure that you're demonstrating that you're interested in them. In the same way that at that Chamber of Commerce meeting, Bob says, I'd like to go to Costa Rica to do a yoga seminar. That would have been a terrible time to talk to him about river cruising, right? It would have been inappropriate. Same sorts of considerations come into play here. So if you have a larger CRM that keeps track of all your client data, that's a great thing, and I think a necessary piece of a well-developed travel practice. What we're doing here is a little bit different. It's not that type of CRM, but it does allow you to segment your client base.
All right, thank you. Looks like our next question is going to be, do you have guidelines about how much to spend boosting a post and how long?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm a big advocate of testing. Now, a lot of that testing we've helped with already, and we have ways of establishing what works and what doesn't, and where you should start. But I always advocate starting small. Just a few dollars a day. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's working. Go with it. Let's invest a little bit more in your marketing. Look, marketing should be an investment. You should get a return on that. If you invest $1, you eventually want to be getting $3 out of it, right? Or $4 or $5. You don't want your marketing to be a lost leader. You don't want to be out there spending money and not getting a return. So the idea is to early on to test and see what's working. And then what works, you go with. And what doesn't work, you stop doing. And so you definitely want to do this with a plan. One of the things I see all the time, and I believe you guys will agree with me that this happens, is maybe if there's one thing I see travel consultants do that is less than optimal for their companies and for their business, is they market haphazardly. They sort of jump from one thing to the next. And if you go to the forums on Facebook or the travel agency groups on Facebook, you see people scrambling for ideas for lead generation. And it's like we looked earlier, the ideas that work are well known, but you need to do it methodically, and you need to do it with a plan, and you need to do it continually and consistently, rather than when business slows down. Because if business is slow right now, it's because 3 months ago you weren't marketing. And so what you want to do is market consistently and market intelligently with a plan. And that's one of the things that we help you develop.
All right, Richard. It looks like we have an advisor here who says, I have an avatar in my head, but struggle with putting that into advertising. How do I resolve that?
We actually have a form for creating that avatar. And the first thing to do, again, an excellent rule of thumb is, if something works, repeat it. And if something doesn't work, don't do it again. And so look at the most successful trips, and there's more than one avatar, but look at the most successful trips you've done. Look at a successful cruise, look at a successful group, look at a successful safari, and now pick up on who your clients were and name that client. Give them a name and give them a sex and an identity and dress them up. What do they do for a living? What's their income level? Do they own a passport? What do they read? And let me tell you where this really works and really works well. And the one piece of advice I give everyone right off the bat is develop a niche market. Find a niche to work in. Because when you find a niche, you are locating your market. And just to clarify, one, you're not restricting your market. I'm not talking about doing one kind of travel and nothing else. But when you have a niche, you can focus. You can become an expert very quickly, and you can better define your avatar. If we're marketing just travel to everybody, then it's kind of hard to create an avatar for that. But if you're talking about golfers, people who golf, you know where to find them. You know what they read. You know what they look at on the internet. You know what they're interested in. And so you can locate them and find them much more quickly. And notice I say golfers. I didn't say golf. Niche markets are about people. They're not about sectors of travel. We're not talking about river cruising. We're talking about people who want to river cruise. And I know that seems like a slight difference, but it's an important one, because that helps you grab a hold of the concept of an avatar. And so you know when you look at that person who river cruises that they're probably older than 35, that they're probably a little higher in income. And remember, on Facebook, you can say, okay, well, they probably own an iPhone. They probably read Travel and Leisure magazine. They probably read Condé Nast Traveler. And let's target people who are within 35 miles of my home. And you can do all that with the new platforms, with the targeting that these platforms permit. And so the effort of developing that avatar, the effort of developing that ideal client is definitely worthwhile. And if you can do that in the context of a niche, all the better.
All right, Richard, before we jump into our next question, I just want to go ahead and let everyone know who joined us a little bit late that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for ASTA members on asta.org by the end of the week. But our next question, Richard, what is going to be the cost for getting this set up?
There's a $75 setup fee. The first thing that we do is we do an intake form with you, where we learn a lot about your business, and then we do an intake call with you, where we'll spend an hour on the phone talking about your business, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what your goals are, and we create a little bit of a marketing plan for you. So that's essentially how we get set up, and then we build the first marketing funnel for you. Now, if you already have a marketing system that you're using, something like MailChimp, or if you already have a GetResponse account and you're perfectly happy with the way that's working for you, then it's $59 a month. If you want the entire program, that is the technology and our coaching, training, and content, it's $99 a month.
And Richard, is it important to have a website, or can the advisors use a Facebook page to divert the client to after the generation lead?
Of course, I have a personal prejudice in this. I think websites are important. First of all, I think clients expect a website, but you're better off not having a website than having a bad one. So you want to have a site that is attractive, that looks modern, that represents you well. You can do this from a Facebook page, but at some point or another, the client's going to wonder. We do one of the things that we do in the process of integrating you into the system is we do what's known as reputation enhancement. And with the reputation enhancement piece of this, we assist you in writing an article. I assign an editor to you from either Travel Research Online or Travel Hoppers. That editor helps you write an article in your niche, and then we publish that article. We actually publish it on Travel Hoppers, or we'll publish it on Travel Research Online. Now, the reason we do that is reputation enhancement, because eventually that person who you're warming up from a cold lead to a warm lead to a hot lead is going to want to know who they're dealing with. And so they're going to Google you. They're going to pump your name into Google, and they're going to see what comes up. If what comes up is a published article in your niche, then you've helped establish your reputation as a travel expert. And so that's one of the undertakings we make, is to establish you as an expert and to put materials out on the internet so that when you're Googled, good stuff comes up. If, on the other hand, they go to your website and it looks like that website that we had earlier that just have a bunch of supplier logos and supplier specials, again, what happened is you've disrupted your marketing funnel. You have bounced them off of your website into some sort of frenetic Google search for a better price. And once it gets to price, then you've lost touch with your client. You want to get to that point where you're talking relationship, not transaction. And a good website, all the good marketing tools that a professional should have, I think, are pretty important to the equation.
Thank you, Richard. Let's see. What about an electronic newsletter? Can you add everyone you meet to receive this and allow them to unsubscribe easily?
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually have 2 newsletter templates that we provide. We actually create the entire newsletter and put those together for you. Then you can send them out to your client base. Of course, it has unsubscribes, so that's not an issue. And we give you recommendations for how often you ought to send them out and how often you ought to touch base. Then you can use the system to create your own newsletters if you like, or to edit the ones that we provide so that instead of a safari, you're putting in a cruise. So all of that's available to you through the system.
And that actually leads me into our next question. What is included with the content and the program?
All right, let me do this. I hadn't planned on doing this, but let me try something here. You can see my screen still, yeah, is that all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me try something here. We'll go to the site and take a look. So here are some examples. There's over 600 travel articles in there that you can use on your websites or in your efforts at blogging. Blogging, we think, is very important to this entire effort. There are over 200 videos, there's cartoons, memes, and tons of photography. These are memes and graphics. There's over 200 videos, destination graphics, cartoons. These are some of the lead magnets. And again, we're very much directing these toward niches. And here's another interesting thing. You, of course, can create your own lead magnets, and I think you should. I think you know your niche better than somebody internally here is going to know your niche. And so if your niche is accessible travel, we've got an accessible travel lead magnet, but you may want to create your own. We'll help you do that. We'll assist you in that process. But we're going to be generating tons of these. Right now, we've got 20 or 30 of them, and we're going to continue to create these for various niches, for various opportunities. We're creating one right now it's called the 10 Mistakes Travelers Make. And we cover the different mistakes that travelers often make when they get out on their own. And one of those mistakes is not using a travel advisor naturally. Here's a couple of the newsletters. This one, Ace Adventure Travel, is the sample travel agency. This newsletter is similar to our Travelgram. This newsletter is Travel Specials. And then, of course, you can create your own newsletter in the system. We assist you with blogging. We provide blogging articles for you. Now, these are not unique articles. They're really to fill in when you don't have time to write your own article. But we provide you with materials on ideas for content for your blogs, and articles on how to blog, what blogging involves. We're also going to begin an interesting webinar series where we're going to work with suppliers and some of these are destinations, to create 20-minute webinars. And the system has a webinar system built into it. So you'll be able to host these webinars on your website, and your clients can come to them and look at them. And so we're real excited about that possibility. Some of the webinars will be ones that we'll conduct, and then you can invite your clients to, or your clients can watch the replay. And others, if you want to do your own webinar with your own BDM locally, then you can do that solely out of your own system that we'll provide you. This is fun. We've created a magazine. This magazine, the first edition, will come out next week. This is Terra Travelers, and it will actually include a few paragraphs on the inside about you and about your history and travel. And this will be a quarterly magazine that we're producing. So this is just the beginning of the types of content that we're starting with. There'll be lots more to come. Anyone that's watched our growth with Voyager websites know that we have trouble sitting still, that we'll be creating new things for you continually.
All right, Richard, it looks like our last three questions all relate to the same thing. So I am going to go ahead and just spew off all three of them. So you mentioned a $75 setup fee. What other fees are involved? Another advisor says, I know that the setup fee is $75, but what is the price after that? Is there a monthly fee? And then the very last one is, I am a one-person agency not able to afford $99 a month currently. Is there a smaller package or a la carte options?
There's no smaller package. It's like everything else. You're going to have to spend a little money to make a little money. So there's really no way to break this up. The marketing package is what it is. The technology can't be broken up, and the training and support is how do you break that up? So it is one price, though there are a couple of options.
Whoop, Richard, you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see the screen now, the pricing options?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So if you only need the content and training, if you already have MailChimp or you already have GetResponse, then it's $59 a month for the content and the training. The standard program, which includes the technology with the training and the content, is $98 a month. The premium program is the same as the standard program, except it includes a social media manager. The social media manager is a program called eClincher that we use in Voyager websites. And then there is the Marketing Plus program. And the Marketing Plus program is essentially, we do everything for you. We essentially effect everything. You stand back a bit and we build your funnels, we build your marketing program and put it in motion for you. So those are the options.
All right, Richard, very, very, very last question now. Is this based off a monthly commitment, or is there a year-long contract?
Nope, it's monthly. I don't believe in year-long contracts. If I'm doing a good job for you, you're going to hang in with me. So I don't like year-long contracts. It's a month-to-month commitment.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Richard. That does conclude all of our questions. We were able to get to all of them, so that's super exciting. Very excited to announce our gift card winner for today, Miss Stephanie Cannon. Stephanie Cannon, thank you for sticking through this amazing marketing presentation by Richard. And Richard, thank you so much for such an informative presentation and for such an amazing concept that our advisors are so thrilled to learn more about. I will be reaching out to you after the end of our presentation, Stephanie, to go ahead and get your contact to send the gift card to. And Richard, I will be following up with you as well. Thank you all to everyone who joined today's webinar.
Thank you, guys. I so appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.